Hello there, this is RGB for RJBTV. We return. We're back with Leebokgu against Bombi. We played 2 games so far, the score being 1-1. 1 win for both players. Leebokgu got 1 win, Bombi's got 1 win himself as well. Now we're going to game number 3, where we have Leebokgu here on the blue Zerg, again on the Zerg, and Bombi again on the Protoss right next to him. This is going to be kind of interesting. Bombi's been showing some really, honestly, some fun openings, some fun build orders. In the second game, his build order didn't quite work out. Leebokgu defended it really well. Bombi, I believe, made some mistakes during his attacks that really backfired. And he could never recover because he invested so much in those early attacks. And then he had nothing that could, keep up with Leebokgu, who went for an economy build order. And once the economy for Terran starts rolling, the Protoss kind of, it's a race against the clock. You gotta hit hard and hit hard consistently and pretty early, or the Terran is too rich to keep up with, as I said before. So Leebokgu here on the Zerg, blue Zerg, opens up with a choke, hatchery in the choke at 9 drones. Then he's gonna go for a pool and a overlord. No, not even an overlord yet. I don't see an overlord yet. He's gonna make the overlord after the pool and after the 11th or the 9th drone. Depends on how you want to call it. Whereas Bombi this time around, not going for an early game rushing build order. He goes for Nexus first. He knows he's playing against the Zerg. He knows he's playing against the Zerg because they picked their races. He knows Zerg is the opponent and he's gonna find him on the very first scouting attempt. But he doesn't have a lot of offensive ability because he started off with a Nexus into a Gateway. I think he started with a Nexus into a Gateway. Honestly, I'm not too sure. Did he go for the Gateway into Nexus or Nexus into Gateway? Gateway is a little bit ahead of the Nexus in terms of how much HP has been warped in, so I believe he went for Gateway Nexus. So that's going to be a very early singular Zealot coming out for him. Also a little bit of probe harassment on those drones. Got 6 Zerglings on the way as is tradition. Pretty much everyone who's good, when they're Zerg, they save up 6 larvae, maybe 8, 6 larvae, I mean 4 or 3 larvae to build some Zerglings. And he's built 6 of them, so 3 larvae saved up for 6 Zerglings to protect himself against the potential attacks that can be coming in from a Protoss. Because if a Protoss goes for multiple gateways, the Zealots can hit pretty hard right at about this time or even before this time point into the game. And you're going to have to want to protect that one single sunken there in the front. Now it looks like Leebokgu knows that Bombi is probably right next to him. He scouted him with the Overlord, so yeah, he knows. Goes for the pylon there in the front. Zealot is forced to move to the front there to try and save the pylon because losing a pylon this early in the game can honestly get you a little bit supply stuck. Leebokgu very carefully micros his Zerglings to safety and makes it out without losing a single one of them. Kills the pylon. Bombi a little bit supply stuck for a couple of seconds, but 2 more pylons are on the way. Already has a Cybercore finished and mining from 2 assimilators. He's gonna go for the robotics, that's for sure. Now I do think Leebokgu knows exactly what Bombi is up to, because that Overlord there is flying into the base and sees everything being warped in. A little bit of fighting happening there in the front. Zealot's trying to peek and see if they can maybe push forward onto those Sunkens, but no, not gonna happen. Those Sunkens are pushing back instead. There's too many of them and too few Zealots. Zerglings going back into the base. There's a cannon there in the backside, but the Nexus on the top side there is actually unprotected, so he might try to go for the Nexus, or maybe just keeping those Zerglings there to kill probes that are wandering too far away from the cannon there close to the Nexus. So got a proxy there happening on the middle. Leebokgu didn't spot this one because he doesn't have an Overlord here up on the hill, so he couldn't see the probe entering the middle. But now that he sees that there is something being warped in on the middle, he is going to try and stop it from happening by sniping the probe. Yes, he does, and cancels the cannon. A little bit of a slow reaction there from Bombi, probably focused on something inside of his base, wasn't expecting it to happen at the exact time. And, those low HP units, they go down so fast, sometimes you don't even have time to respond. Overlord goes down there. Both players have lost about 100 total in minerals in supply. So both players got supply block for a very short amount of time. Leebokgu still supply block, has to wait for another Overlord to finish. is not pushing his Sunkens forward. Sometimes some players like to push their Sunkens forward into the middle to try and stop this here on the middle from happening completely. By pushing their Sunkens forward, but Leebokgu is playing this very conservatively. He's not pushing those Sunkens forward, he's instead focusing entirely on getting his economy up and running here in the backside of his base, getting more hatcheries, and getting his Hydralisk Den finished as well, because he really is going to have to use that Hydralisk Den to defend himself against specifically this. Zealots being, dropped over the wall. He kind of messed up a little bit there, so he got slowed down a little bit with the execution. A little bit with the execution went wrong there, so he got slowed down a little bit. Which means Leebokgu is going to have a couple more Hydras and Zerglings back here at home to defend themselves against this incoming attack. He's going to fly those last couple Zealots over the hill and start the attack here at the same time, while the Reaver back at home is finishing. He didn't build a Reaver though. He didn't build the Reaver. He queued up a shuttle. No Reaver is in production. The fight here goes pretty easily in Leebokgu's favor. Doesn't really lose anything significant. Loses a couple Zerglings, but most of the Hydras stay alive. All the shuttles are still alive here for Bombi. And I really think he just forgot to make his Reavers. I'm not sure, but most of the time, this is followed up by, while the attack is happening, most of the time the Protoss picks up some Reavers back at home and flies them in at the same time as well to support the units there inside that base. Those Zealot Reavers, that combination is just very, very strong, but he didn't go for the Reaver. Instead he's going for Templar Storm with a slight delay, and getting Templars now as well, of course. Shuttles there just balling up in the front. Storm is on the way, level 1 weapon attack is on the way, and Dragoon range also on the way. And we've got Shuttle Speed and Zealot Speed both finished as well. And Leebokgu here kind of feels that, he doesn't need a lot more Hydras, because Bombi just lost a lot of units there inside of Leebokgu's base. So Leebokgu kind of knows that he doesn't have to make more Hydras for now, because there simply aren't that many units that can really threaten him. All he has to do is defend against shuttle drops. Now one shuttle there is inside vision, maybe on purpose, maybe by accident, but Leebokgu is responding to it, whereas another shuttle is flying all the way around. It's going to go in from the left side at the same time. Leebokgu might queue up more Hydras while that's happening. He probably knows something is up. Probably knows that Bombi is not just going to let it all happen and ride on this one single shuttle. Small little Zealot mass there entering the middle. He did push forward his Sunkens. He did push them forward after all. But Bombi still got the pylon and the cannon up and running there in the middle. Hasn't built anything new there in the middle. Not yet. Basically, when you're this close to the Zerg, you don't really have to build anything on the middle, honestly. You can, but you don't have to. Reaver there in the front. Gonna start the frontal Reaver push. Shuttle there with the Templars inside, still hanging on the left side of the map. Slowly adding on more Sunkens to the front here. One level attack for Hydras on the way. Oh no, he's got Hydralisk range on the way. He doesn't have it finished yet. He does have speed, but no range for Hydras yet. The Hydras there behind the Sunkens defending pretty well. Shuttle comes in. Leebokgu's responding really quickly. Tries to intercept it, and he's going to intercept it pretty easily. No Templars on low, so his drones are completely safe. Didn't have to drop dodge. Very well played there from Leebokgu. Very good awareness. The Sunkens in the front are going down, but so are some of the Zealots. He killed about 6-7 Sunkens there in total. Pretty good job there so far. Bombi is playing this one by the book. But honestly, Leebokgu hasn't really felt threatened yet. He hasn't really been pushed to a point where you'd say, oh, this situation might just turn out really bad. So far, he's okay. This might turn out a little bit bad though. A lot of Hydras from the back to the front. Storm is being loaded up. Will fly its way in. There's some Hydras in between, but he finds a nice little pathway in between the groups of Hydras. Very slow responder from Leebokgu. Templar reloads, Templar storms. Templar gets a pretty good storm. Gets a pretty good storm off. Kills about 14 drones. Successfully defends the front there. Reaver is still alive. They're in the front. Gets a pretty good scare off on a single Hydra. More Hydras move to the front to try and kill the Reaver. But what matters is, though, that Leebokgu lost a bunch of drones at a pretty bad time into the game. Well, he does have a lot of Hydralisk already finished, but he did lose a large chunk of his frontal defense. So in that sense, a pretty bad timing, because now he has to spend money on drones instead of fortifying and growing stronger. He is instead recovering from a damaging blow. As you can see, recovering from a damaging blow kind of results in losing more of your choke, The Lurkers are on the way there behind the Sunkens, and I don't see any observatory or observers on the map yet from Bombi. Hydra's from the back, coming to the front to try and save this section. He does succeed in saving it. And now we've got an observer on the way. It looks like Bombi saw the X morphing there behind the Sunkens. So observers are on the way. One is already finished there, moving to the front side there. It's going to try to push through. The Hydras are staying in the back. I don't see any shuttle draws being loaded up. It's just completely relying on massing and massing and massing and keeping up the pressure. I assume Bombi thinks he probably hit more drones than he actually did. Whereas Leebokgu now already on 67. Not a lot of units there though, but 123 supply for Berserker 10 minutes in against 180 supply. Progress is pretty good. Comes in with the frontal attack. Zealots are getting mowed down by the Lurkers. Dragoons to the backside there. Not really supporting that much, but they're doing their best to support this. Doing the best to support this with a level 2 attack, level 1 armor. His upgrades are in a pretty damn good spot. Let's get level 1 attack there for Leebokgu. Hydra's overextending a little bit, tries to snipe and successfully snipes the observer, but I think the second observer is somewhere on the map. No second observer. Looks like all the observers went down, so now Bombi just walks his way straight into the base and tries to circumvent the Sunkens there in the front and goes in for an attack from the left side. Splitting up Leebokgu's attention, and the Zealots there on the side are actually doing a pretty damn good job of, you know, doing damage, killing Hydras and being annoying. Frontal attack also still happening at the same time though, but he has to start pulling back those Zealots because the Lurkers, undetected, are just a complete pain to deal with. Now both players on 72 workers, Leebokgu on 125 supply against 170, 164 supply from Bombi. Both players are really starting to get rolling here. Haven't seen a second or third drop coming out from Bombi yet. Now with these 10 hatcheries that Leebokgu has, he can start producing a lot of Hydras pretty quickly, given that he doesn't have to produce a whole lot more drones anymore. A lot more Lurkers there being brought up in the front. Got some spores to help against those observers. Observer might have vision range, might have speed, not sure. But vision range at this point in the game is becoming very important. If you don't have vision range for the observers against the spores, the observers are going to die to the spores pretty consistently time and time again. Drop comes in there on the top side. Drones will ring away. Hellfire goes down before it can storm. So Leebokgu successfully defends the drop there from the front, from the right side. That's going to allow him to grow bigger really quick now, as he can add on basically like 5 hatcheries. He can add on a Queen's Nest and a Spire, everything he needs. So he's focused on defending in the front here at the same time. At the moment, more units are coming in. Bombi's macro is really consistent here at the moment, just continuously sending and pushing forward. Spore there attacks the Observer. Observer survives though, but he loses vision of the Lurkers and the backside, and once again pushed back into the middle. More Observers on the scene here though, about 5 or 6 of them, 4 of them I mean. Supporting and providing vision against the Lurkers. The Lurkers are too far in the back. More hatches being added on. Hydralisk spawning everywhere. Still don't see a Queen's Nest anywhere though, so he's not planning on going for a little hive yet. He is consistently getting his upgrades though for Hydra, Carapace, and Attack. Once again, more Zealots are coming in. I do believe Bombi's now almost on level 3 attack, got level 1 armor, 1 shield, almost level 2 armor finished up, and level 2 shield almost finished up as well. Finally breaks through the entire wall there in the front. Leebokgu at about 102 drones. He simply made way too many drones. Way too many drones on the map right now, but honestly, Bombi's playing really well. Just consistent pressure with frontal attacks non-stop, but Leebokgu is keeping up. Leebokgu is continuously surviving and surviving and surviving. Tries to snipe the Reaver down the backside. Oh, sorry, the Reaver goes down. Drones moving to the front to start building more Sunkens. Maybe that's why he had so many drones in the end. I'm gonna have to turn the sound down just a little bit because I feel like the game sounds are a little bit too loud. Excuse me for obscuring the game a little bit at the moment. Here we go. Okay. So yeah, this is basically just a push in and a push back. He pushes in and he pushes back. But the supply count is slowly growing. It was at 125 a little while ago, now 144, soon to be 150. He's on about 13 hatcheries plus 1, so 14 in total. Still no hive, still no spire, but the Hydra defense is getting along pretty well. I guess it's just really difficult to focus on building your base when the Protoss is just non-stop attacking like this with such well-performed, executed macro and great focus on his attacks, great storms from down on the Hydras. Pretty much everything has been cleared out here in the front. Only 2 Sunkas left alive. A couple lurkers are morphing, finished morphing. Hydra's coming from the back to the front once again. A couple Sunkas here that are morphing might just save today. They might just not save today. He's sniping the observers. Lurkers are completely safe from detection at the moment. Pushes them forward a little bit closer to the entrance and forces back Bombi's army. And Bombi now once again has to wait for an observer, and waiting for the observer is going to give Leebokgu some time to go. Drop comes in there from the left side, right side. Starts to dodge there. Storm hits pretty well. The second storm they're coming in as well, but the second storm doesn't really connect with anything. Has 68 drones left alive. Honestly, that should be enough to roll with. Should be enough to roll with. It's about 68 drones. Yeah, he's gonna be fine with those 68. His gas is a little bit low at the moment though. A little bit low at the moment because he did lose a couple of gas drones there in the process. He's not sending those back to work as well. Another frontal attack happening at the same time again. Bombi really has been playing with absolute non-stop pressure. Non-stop. This is actual non-stop pressure. He's just maxing out, continuously producing, continuously sending, and he's... You know, he almost breaks through every single time, but Leebokgu hangs on to the very last little bits of his army every single time. Starting to run out of money now though. His bank is shrinking, his gas is shrinking, hasn't put those drones back to work on the gas. And that might actually hurt him a lot. He might actually at some point become incapable of producing more Hydras simply because he isn't mining enough gas on the top side. Also kind of interesting that Bombi hasn't really built anything for about 6 minutes now, but he's still continuously pressuring Leebokgu very, very hard. Which again goes to show that you don't always have to keep building and building and building. Sometimes just attacking and not building anything actually does more than trying to build. Because when you're building, you're not attacking. When you're attacking, you're not building. Prioritizing the two is kind of difficult, but Bombi here, once again, pushes through a tiny bit, prevents most of the Sunkas from pushing back towards the choke there. Kills a lot of Sunkas, kills a lot of Hydras, but Leebokgu again successfully holds them off. A go Templars there inside of Bombi's base, inside of Leebokgu's base. But the storms seem to have not really killed all that much. He did go down from about 70 drones to 63, lost a couple, but not a lot. But he's still scrambling and still pretty far behind on supply. The Sunkas are keeping him alive. The upgrades for Bombi though are almost maxed out. 223 upgrades there for Bombi, and we are currently on 1-2 for Leebokgu. He's not really in any state to afford upgrades. More drones moving to the front to start building more Sunkans. His minerals are kind of low, but so is Bombi's. Bombi's gas is also very low. He's just producing really, really fast. But in the end, looks like Leebokgu, once again, survives another barrage of attacks, of drops and mass gateway attacks through the front door. This is honestly... to play this kind of Zerg against Protoss is super intense. To play this is super intense because you're just non-stop moving back and forth attacking and always on the brink where one real serious mistake will cost you the game. Drop comes in, Storm lands, Storm connects, and that is the one mistake I was talking about. I jinxed it. Leebokgu down to 28 minerals with 32 drones. He's got nothing left to defend with. At least he's got nothing left to rebuild with. A lot of drones just finished up though, but 28 minerals, it's pretty much a done deal. Pretty much a done deal. Bombi there with the very, very consistent non-stop frontal attacks and drops coming in from the side. Leebokgu played very well, but in the end, he, you know, the disadvantage of being Zerg, caught up to him, and he couldn't come out with the win. So now we've got 2 wins for Bombi, 1 win for Leebokgu. That means we're going into another game. Leebokgu against Bombi once again. And we're gonna have Leebokgu on the Terran and Bombi on the Protoss. Alright, they're again right next to each other. Again, these two players have been right next to each other for the last 3 games. Doesn't happen that often. I mean, you've got a 1 in... Honestly, I don't know what the chances are exactly of winding up exactly right next to each other. the chances are probably pretty high. Or pretty low, depending on how you look at it. So 3 games in a row, both players right next to each other, and both times, both players get the advantages that come with being right next to each other. Although I think that here, Leebokgu is slightly in the advantage with how things are set up. Kind of the same as game number 2 from the previous video, where Leebokgu also had a slight advantage from how the bases were set up and where they spawned. Got one gateway there coming out from Bombi. This again, Protoss against Terran was picked, was not random against random. So he is adjusting his opening build order accordingly to, knowing that it's Protoss against Terran. Leebokgu, of course, doing the same with the barrack opening into a depot into barrack number 2. As is tradition. This is just probably the best Terran opening, honestly. You can rush, you can defend, and you can transition into economy build orders by simply stopping your marine production and going for command centers instead. Very diverse, very strong, but it requires that you know how to micro your marines. It requires that you know how to micro your marines. If you can't do that, this build order is just weak. But then again, if you can't micro, Terran as a whole is just weak. Weak. Alright, so Leebokgu here... This is Leebokgu, not this one. Bombi here, got a Cybercore on the way. Probably going for the same Dragoon build order as from game number 2. Probably, I don't want to call it too early, but this looks like it's going for Dragoons. At least on 2 gateways, 1 gas, and Cybercore there on the way. A couple of Zealots also under production. Leebokgu has found Bombi. Bombi now, of course, knows that Leebokgu is right next to him or on the left side of the map. He changes his scouting pattern accordingly, finds him there, he sees a couple depots that are on the way. You can't really go in yet. Now the question is going to be, is Leebokgu going to build a 3rd depot to keep him walled out of his base completely and entirely? Should make defending pretty easily, he's not. Oh, he is going to finish it. He's going to finish, well, it's not yet there. Builds the academy first, didn't start, he starts a depot just in time. Starts the depot just in time. Now the Marines can walk through the cracks here in between the depots and attack those Zealots and the probe. And he's probably going to do exactly that. Once he finds out that that pylon there is on the way, he starts building a barrack there on the side. Academy on the way there back at home. Of course, going to try to lift that barrack over. But Bombi has, he's seen it happen quite often to himself and to others. He knows that barracks is probably being built somewhere that Leebokgu might just try to fly over. So he's getting vision of his entire right side of his base. Might get vision of his left side as well, just to be sure. Maybe he just knows that the SCV went that way because he saw the SCV leaving earlier. We got double... Oh, he's not protecting his... He's protecting his depots. A little bit slow on the protection there, though. Kills 1 cannon. Marines don't go down, they all retreat successfully. Cannon number 2 there is close to finishing up, so Leebokgu starts building depots and bunkers behind his current depot line, keeps repairing it. Dragoons are assisting, pulls back the SUV, otherwise gets taken down by the cannon. Now actually, it looks like Leebokgu is scrambling to build more depots here in the back, and losing those depots actually can be kind of painful because he spent like 300 minerals pretty early into the game on those depots, losing them. Doesn't get him supply stuck, it's almost supply stuck, but it still hurts because so early in the game as Terran, losing 300 minerals of investment is pretty big. But Bombi here overextends, goes in too hard, goes in too deep, he's making a big mistake, he loses all of his Zealots. Now the Dragoons there in the backside, they're going to get pushed back by the Marines. He retreats towards the cannon. Leebokgu tries to kill as many Dragoons as he can, but is forced to stop attacking. Now the barrack there inside of Bombi's base is distracting him sufficiently. Firebat is on the way, but Stim hasn't finished yet. So the Firebat spawns, but the Firebat is going to get taken down. It looks like Leebokgu is going to give up on trying to sneak in a Firebat. He gives up on it. Starts a factory, starts a command center there in the back as well. Has Stim halfway done. Got a robo on the way there from Bombi. I do think that Leebokgu saw everything that's on the way here on the corner. He's not going to get surprised by anything. Probably saw the double nexus as well. Bombi is adjusting really quickly to the situation. He noticed that he can't really push forward here. The bunkers are too strong against the Dragoons. He has range, he's got stim. Those Dragoons are never gonna break through. He might need a Reaver, or maybe just go for a Reaver drop instead of going for a frontal Reaver push. A lot of gateways are on the way, which leads me to believe that Bombi is probably gonna go for a frontal push with Zealot speed, because he got a Citadel of Doom on the way. Might queue up Zealot speed. Got level 1 weapon attack there for the Forge. Getting defensive cannons against drops as well. You don't want to lose your probes, because then the game is pretty much over, specifically with these spawning locations. Robo's finished, support bay getting queued up, getting warped in. Leebokgu very slowly getting stronger, starts building turrets on the sides. Because he knows the timing, he can see everything here on the side. He sees the Robo. Saw it finish. This is very valuable information that he's getting with that one barracks. Can't quite see the support bay and the Forge and the Citadel or Templars Archive, though there's no Templars Archive on the way at the moment. But if there was one, he couldn't and wouldn't be able to see it. But he can of course assume it's there, but he doesn't know the exact timing. And knowing the exact timing allows you to really get the appropriate structures and units in position at appropriate times. Also, he starts a proxy gas base here on the top side of the map because he knows he's going to need carriers because he's right next to Leebokgu. Bombi might just be Leebokgu might just be able to start putting tanks on the high ground and push towards the Nexus again, like in game number 2, where Bombi couldn't quite survive and defend successfully. He defended for a very long time, but he couldn't successfully defend, and in the end went down to tanks on the hill. The hills have tanks. It's pretty damn strong, and he doesn't want to die to it again. So he's appropriately setting himself up for defending himself against it in the future. What's he going to build here on the top side? What's he going to build here on the top side? I don't see any Stargates. As I say that, I find them. I see Stargates. Whenever I say something, I jinx myself and I find it right afterwards. He hasn't gone for a drop yet. I really feel that Bombi is just going all out on getting very fast carriers. He's got Temple's Archive finished, Storm on the way, Shuttle Speed on the way, Air Armor on the way, 2 Temples on the way. We've got anti-air getting prepared here for Leebokgu by building his armory, of course, for upgrades, but also for Valkyries and Goliaths maybe. He's got a dropship on the way, he's going to go for a tank drop for sure, and after the tank drop he's probably going to go for more dropships because he wants to put them tanks up on the high ground. That is the strategy you pretty much always see with these spawn locations, is go for the hill play, the tanks on the hill, put Valkyries on top of the tanks, and slowly push towards the Nexus, or very quickly push towards the Nexus. Basically, the Korean version of spot abuse. Although I don't think it is as overpowered and broken as some of the Western spot abuse options, like storm dropping when the minerals are so close to the side. So the first tanks have arrived up on the high ground. A couple more tanks are on the way, more dropships on the way as well. More turrets being lined up behind. Got air armor there, air weapon on the way. So he's going to go for Valkyries after his dropships. Honestly, I would assume he'd be going for more starports instead of more factories if he's going for air as a follow-up to his dropships, because now he can't really build that much air despite going for air weapon attack upgrade first. Now I might be wrong about something here with Bombi, because I assumed he was gonna go for fast carriers, but I don't see a second cybernetics, I don't see a fleet beacon, and I see more gateways being added on. So maybe I was wrong with what I thought he'd be doing, is I was expecting more starports. But so far, there hasn't really been any aggression. Bombi once again finds himself, behind on track, behind on where he wants to be, behind on what he wants to do, because of his opening build order, slowing down his economy a little bit too much. Got some Zealots on the high ground. Tanks are going to go down, although the Zealots are going to go down as well. Storm comes down to make sure that those last 2 tanks go down. But 2 more tanks are still alive up at the high ground. Still only on 1 starboard. Still adding on more factories. Still no level 1 weapon attack on the way for ground. So yeah, ship attack upgrade is still on the way. I still don't get why he went for air weapon attack instead of, you know, tank weapon attack. But there has to be a reasoning behind it. So yeah, we've got the proxy gas base there on the top side. Got gateways being built there on the middle. We got Arbiter Tribunal on the way for Arbiters. Even more gateways on the way. I really just was wrong. As a drop comes in there from the top side, we are not going to see carriers anytime soon. It's about 4 Templars. 1 storm, 2 storm, 3 storm, 4 storm. Storms everywhere. But winds up killing only about 15 or 16 SCVs. Actually, a pretty good hit. As a lot of Marines also went down. Marines now pulling from the right side to the bottom side there. Those Marines also died to the storm. Only 2 Marines left alive. This was actually a very successful hit. That hit was actually very successful. Here from the top side, flew right in. Didn't get intercepted, killed a couple SCVs and killed a lot of Marines. Now defending against the next drop is going to be pretty damn difficult. Because on a 3 barrack production, he's not going to have a lot of Marines. And I don't think the push is going to really be going that fast, because we know from the previous PvT that Bombi is pretty damn good at defending or at least prolonging and slowing down its tank push with the hill. Got an observer there for vision on the high ground. Dark Templar there can take down those units on the low ground, and the drop comes in for the top side there. Starts unloading on the top corner. There's 2 Dark Templars, 3 Dark Templars, a couple Zealots, and 8 High Templar. There's almost nothing in between to stop the High Templar from reaching. High Templar gets sniped over, before it can storm. The turrets on the top are going down. Scans coming out to try and save whatever units he has left. Does lose almost all the Marines, but the tanks there do stay alive because he's got those 6 factories. In the end, those 6 factories are coming in really handy. But he doesn't have things like Valkyries or Raids to help himself defend against those shuttle drops. But Leebokgu is recovering from that drop earlier pretty well. Now in 54 SCVs, he's got 4 command centers. He's slowly adding on more Marines and tanks everywhere in his base, recovering his turrets. The push here continues. He was focused on defending. You can't push while defending. Maybe you can if your multitasking is really, really good. But not many players have multitasking so good that they can do everything at the same time. Frontal attack happening there. The bunkers are pretty far away from the depot. Starts flying in shuttles as well. Shuttles unloading behind the wall. This is a attack from the front and from behind the wall, behind enemy lines, taking down most of the bunkers, taking down most of the depots. Now he's on top of the bunkers. Tanks are sieging up, but the tanks are going to kill their own. The game is looking pretty bad now for Leebokgu as Zealots are overrunning him. It looks like going for Gateway Mass was the exact correct answer. As he breaks through the front door. In the end, the units coming from the back to the front do save the day there. As now Dragoons come in, but Dragoons don't have Zealot support, so they're forced to retreat outside the tank range and take down the very last depot there. Got another drop there flying on the top side of the map. He's just gonna keep flying in over this weak side. Because he managed to open a hole up. Shuttle there goes in to take some turret shots, but goes a little bit too early. Now the shuttles are coming in from the top side. One shuttle goes down, another shuttle is still alive. What's inside? Leebokgu is moving his SCVs away to safety. Can't storm any SCVs. Hits the SCVs that are on the bottom side though, but doesn't really kill any of them. So in the end, most of the SCVs do stay alive. Is there another Templar inside this shuttle? No, this shuttle is empty. And again, we've got drops, tanks being dropped beyond the hill. A little bit too close to the cannons. They do wind up going down. Kills the Dark Templar. 1 tank stays alive. Couple Zealots running into the front door. Although more Zealots, not a couple of them. A lot of Zealots are walking in through the front door. Not a really big number, but a couple of those Zealots are going to get on top of the tanks, and once those Zealots are on top of the tanks are going to kill other tanks with the splash damage. As you can see right there, tanks killing tanks. And the Dark Templars here next to the hill, successfully defending, successfully buying time. Not a drop there on the top side of Leebokgu's base. Honestly, Bombi is playing this one really, really well. Very good focus. Very good strategy. Very good mix-up. Once again, 3 Templars on the scene. Tries to storm every single little bit of service area there is. There's a Dark Templar there in the mix as well. Do the Templar still have energy for Storm? He storms once again, but misses the Storm. Not completely. Kills about 10. And we got a far out of the Dark Templar there in the backside. Is killing stuff. It's killing stuff. It's killing stuff, but does go down in the end. Now the last Templar gonna get taken down as well. Slowly. There it goes. It's down. So Leebokgu doesn't have a choke. Doesn't have a lot of supplies. On 130, I mean, it's not a low amount of supply, but compared to the 200 from Bombi, it's not that great either. The lows once again, storms on the low ground, kills the Dark Templar, are going to continue pushing, but Zealots are coming into the front door and slowly reducing the amount of tanks you got there in the front. Leebokgu is not liking losing those tanks in the front there. There's only 3 tanks left in the front to defend. His minerals are low as well because he's continuously storm dodging, which kind of completely ruins his income. And now dropping on the right side. Once again, he's got doesn't have a lot of units there on the backside. These are running away, trying to find safety, trying to find a safe harbor. One storm. It's pretty hard. Got 4 more Templars there on the backside. Storm misses. Another storm hits. Oh, that one was a really good storm. That one hit him really, really hard. A unit of Zealots in the front there as well, on top of the tanks, in between the factories. Attacks happening non-stop all over the place, and Leebokgu calls GG because he realizes he's pretty broke. And he's got nothing to kill the 2 Archons there on the backside. Once those Archons finish, it's going to be pretty painful for Leebokgu. And honestly, this game was just very well played from Bombi. He gave Leebokgu a lot of time, completely unharmed. But all of a sudden, he flipped the switch, and once the switch was flipped, Leebokgu just couldn't keep up with the barrage of non-stop attacks from the top side, the right side, the front side. Every single angle that Bombi could use, he utilized them, and made life impossible for Leebokgu, who couldn't survive it. That's game number 2. I thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this one. Honestly, I'm kind of glad that we saw the Terran against Protoss spot abuse lose. So in the end, Bombi wins the set with 3 wins, 1 loss against Leebokgu, who played Terran and Zerg. So honestly, the odds were slightly in favor of Bombi, but Bombi was a victim of spot abuse in 2 games and only lost 1 of them. Well, thank you for watching, and hope to see you return very soon. I'm gonna make another video very soon as well. Someone asked for more Leebokgu against, not Leebokgu, Hamburg Assassin against Gold on Kong. So next up is gonna be Hamburg Assassin once again against our very own Kong, and hopefully we're gonna see some amusing early game build orders from Kong because he's got a lot of them up his sleeve. See you next time.